All right. So, thought I'd film a lesson for a friend of mine. He reached out and asked me about the pentatonic scale and that he was very interested in learning how to play the pentatonic scale. And for the first time in his life, he wanted to learn how to play a solo. So, there's probably plenty of other resources that are, you know, better than mine, but I'm just going to give you my insight on how I worked out the pentatonic scales and what if I could go back in time to when I was learning them, would have probably ingrained them even faster than it worked out for me. So we'll take a common key. It doesn't really matter, but I'll be on the fifth fret in standard tuning. First finger on that fifth fret. That's A. So A pentatonic. I'm not going to be going over the theory or the notes. It is a 5-note scale, but we're going to look at the pattern. So the pattern, it's 4 frets apart. So fifth fret. So 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. So I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, or 3 away, but A, and then C would be the next note, but it's index to pinky. And then after that, we're going to repeat the same idea, index finger, but to the third finger. So index, pinky, index, third finger. Then we repeat that again on the next finger, the next string, I mean. So index, pinky, index, ring, and then we're going to go index, ring again. And then we're going to go from the beginning. And then now it's index, pinky for the end. So index, pinky, index, ring, index, ring, index, ring, index, pinky, index, pinky. And then you can do it backwards. So now instead of just playing the scale up and down until you can remember it, it is important that you play it like with a metronome so that you get the timing right. What we're going to do is we're going to immediately try and put it into practice and play with it. Use your ear as much as you can comfortably, and what you're going to try and do is we're only going to use the top string. So we're going to use a constraints-led approach to learning how to utilize the pentatonic scale. So I'm only going to have access to that high E A and that high E C note. That's it. That's all I got. It's going to be kind of boring at first, but as we add strings, you'll have a little bit of fun with it. So find any backing track that you can find that's in the key of A. I'm literally clicking a random one here. Okay, yeah. Here we go. And then if that's all I got, now I'll add the next string, which, if you remember, is index, pinky, right? So now we just apply the exact same rule here. So that was just the top two strings. Now we'll add from the third string down. So index, ring, index, pinky. I added a little bit of slides there. If you feel comfortable adding some slides, feel free to add some slides. And then we run it again. just continue to repeat that process all the way down. So I'll do it one more time now from the fourth string. So I have index ring, index ring, index pinky, index pinky. And you would continue to repeat that process until you involve yourself with the whole scale. So I would probably put a timer or just use the backing track and pause it and just play around with it. But again, I'm just using just the first string, then the first two strings, then the three top strings, then the fourth, then I would add the fifth string, and then the whole scale. Once you got that kind of down and you've messed around and played with that, then, you know, learning some patterns on it would be pretty cool. So the most common pattern is up two, back one, so, and back one, so. So index, pinky, index, pinky, index, ring, index, ring, 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 index, ring, index, ring, 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 index, ring, index, ring, index, ring, index, pinky, index, pinky, index. I'm sorry. Yeah, your index finger. Pinky, index, pinky. And the whole thing there is. Then you can do that backwards. Another one you can mess around with is just going down the string on the same fret. So every time I go down, I'm just, index to index, and now I'll play the second note on the scale and then go down the next set of strings to the next note in that scale pattern. So index, index, pinky, ring. And then you would repeat that on the next note, which is the third note of the scale. And you're just going up. So. Right? So again. And then you can do that same thing backwards, which is a little bit more complicated because you kind of have to roll your finger down. So. Alright, so. So the whole thing. And then you can do like I kind of call it like a U. So you go up and then back down. So index, index, ring, pinky. And you can do that going up. And then that backwards. And then you can also string skip is another one you could do. So skip the string, but you're always keeping, the most important thing to know about these exercises or these patterns is the scale shape is the same. It's just the combination at which you're touching the notes. So now all I'm doing is skipping a string and going back a string. Skip a string, go back a string. So if I'm going to play the sixth string and the fourth string, then the fifth string and the third string, then the fourth and the second and the third and the first string. So index, pinky, index, ring, and then back. And then skip a string, and then back. Skip a string, then back, and then skip a string. And that whole thing down is, and you can do that backwards. So then when you play it up and down, so that's another like little pattern you can mess around with. So that's that first shape. Now the next thing would be playing the second shape of the pentatonic scale. So now this is a minor pentatonic, right? So now I'm going to go up. So where the pinky is the start of the next scale. So I'll take my second finger and place it where my pinky is. And now it's going to be the second finger and then the pinky. Then the next one is going to be index, pinky. And if you notice, all the notes that I play that are on this side of my hand, the left portion of my left hand, the left side of my left hand, if you're left-handed, are all the notes that were pinky and ring finger on the first pattern will now become, your second finger and your index finger, respectively, on this side of the guitar. So index pinky, middle pinky, so 2, 4. I'll just say the number of the finger moving forward to make it potentially easier. So second finger, fourth finger, then index finger, fourth finger, index finger, fourth finger, index finger, ring finger, second finger, fourth finger, second finger, fourth finger. So one more time. 2, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 4. And then you'd work that backwards. And now when we go and do the constraint sled approach, you just, any backing track in A minor, that's like a rock backing track or a minor blues backing track or anything will work well with the scale, is now I'll do the exact same thing but only with this pattern. And now all we're going to do is work, let's just go straight to the 2 strings. So it's only going to be middle pinky, middle pinky. Right, you do the same thing there. Then you can add the 3rd string and the 4th string and the 5th string. So now you have this pattern and the first pattern. Now the next constraint you can work is this way on the guitar. So we're going to work up and down the guitar versus, horizontal. So we're going to go back to our first scale and we're going to have index pinky, middle pinky, and index pinky, middle pinky. So we're going to use the 2 patterns. And then we could do the same thing, down a set of strings. So now we have access to 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4, and 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 4. I'll show you what it looks like now that I think at this point you probably have the gist. It'll take some time, but you just practice string by string by string, adding them. And that's going to increase the amount of notes you have. Really, it's 5 notes that are just repeated across the scale. You'll start to mess around with it and start to figure it out. And you can add slides and you can add different things. So now I'll do the same thing, but I'll actually just only use the first 2 patterns and just have a little bit of fun. Alright, so that's the first 2 kind of pentatonic patterns. You can literally find them probably anywhere. There's probably even some better resources on YouTube that'll tell you like, hey, here are the 5 pentatonic patterns. The important things to note is, because the guitar is tuned in the way it is and it's built on fourths, that wherever the root position is, that's the scale. So you just move it, right? So this was A minor. If we're in the key of G minor, I'll take the entire concept back a whole step. So my first pattern will be on the 3rd fret, and my second pattern will be on the 6th fret, and so forth, right? And there's 5 pentatonic patterns you learn. If you learn them, the cool thing is you're going to learn both the minor pentatonic and the major pentatonic, because they're essentially the same thing. It's just the root, right? If this was A minor pentatonic, then this would be, the major pentatonic would be starting, with my 2nd finger and my 5th finger, and it's just one of the same patterns of the minor pentatonic. It's actually the 5th pattern of the minor pentatonic played as the first pattern of the pentatonic, and that's the difference. So I hope that kind of helps relatively demystify the pentatonic scale, which is like a really cool scale to mess around with and play. And you can do this with a backing track to have some fun, and then the next thing you can do is just play by yourself. The pentatonic scale, and just start like riffing yourself through it and playing through it and just having fun. It's just all about getting some time underneath it. But the constraint style approach, if I could go back and learn it all over again, I think I would do that, just because it gives me an opportunity to practice it live and with intention, and then knowing what I have access to. And then you can add your slides, which are about a half step either below or above a certain line, right? As long as I'm landing on the same note. And that's pretty much it. Hope that helps.